So here's part 3 of hiking in the El Dorado National Forest. And you know, I'm just sort of making this video as a combination of a few things, but first and foremost, I want to say that this is an announcement to, and I know this may seem a little bit strange, but because it's probably something I should be keeping to myself, but I digress. Anyway, so I'm actually starting my first ever prolonged, well, long 7-day fast. This is going to be the first day, and the reason why I'm doing this is to reach my second goal. I think I've told you about my first goal, and it has to do with weight loss beyond, even though I'm pretty good now, it's more, I'm more thinking long term, you know. So for example, I'm thinking really long term because I want that I want to have a sustained mental clarity for years to come, and I don't want things to get in the way, and I want to find a way to try to weather through life in a propitious way. I like to use that word propitious because I learned in GRE. But anyway, but yeah, I've been reading Adam Smith. I'm on page 250 out of 1,200 pages. The book is called The Wealth of Nations, and he just goes over general things of how, you know, different parts of the world become wealthy and prosperous, and how you can essentially build your way there, not in the sense of framing, but more of an economic reality. And the thing about that is it's more of a conceptual thing, so it's a little difficult for me because I'm not an economist. But it's funny because when I read it, I feel like I can go back to school and major in economics because I'm starting to realize these figures that I never thought about before too much. Just whatever I listen to. Like if I listen to Aaron Clarey, he describes the idea that if you're you know, if you're left to your own devices, kind of like a Lord of the Fly situation as a form of employment versus being a slave, you're actually expected, you're actually, as a human being, or you're going to get more done. You're going to be more productive than if you were a slave. Isn't that weird? I never thought about that before. So like, let's say if your employer is treating you like a slave, he's an idiot. He or she is an idiot. Your boss. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand economics. They don't understand business from that point of view. And if they think that you're being unproductive because of it, they're fucking idiot. They're an idiot. You know, they're the ones to blame in that case. So that's something that's kind of interesting. But anyway, there's a lot of other things in there in that book that I can go over, but it's okay. So, but yeah, I'm back here in El Dorado National Forest. I'm not on Lions Creek this time, so I don't know if I could call this part 3, but maybe I will. But I'm technically on the Basse Falls because there's so much snow here that I can't possibly like get through it to access that hiking trail. So I had to make it out here instead. So yeah, I got my hiking shoes on, and I wanted to say a little bit more about the 7-day fast. So the most I've done is 3-day fasts so far, and I wanted to do the 7-day fast kind of like sometime in April, but I feel a little bit more ready now to do it. And part of the reason to do this is primarily to lose the weight, but that's not really as important to me. You know, to get down to 155, 153 pounds. I'm 5'10 and a half, 155 pounds, with still some muscle mass. But the weight in itself is not the issue for me. I don't really, you know, I mean, I like to look at myself in a certain way when I see myself in the mirror, but like that's not as Well, some guys would say that that's important, but for me, again, it's more about the mental clarity. So like I even switched up my diet for that. So I'm starting to get into lion's mane mushroom, and it's really amazing. So like right now I'm about 163, 164 pounds. So I just need to lose about 10 pounds to get to where I want to be. But the thing about the whole losing weight is that I'm going to be at an optimal weight for me to basically be a productive. That's how I look at it. So if I have a little bit of fat on me, that's good, because then that creates mental clarity and a sense of ketosis. But if, you know what I mean? And so that's, in my opinion, see, I think there's actually a connection between being heavy and not having mental clarity. It's kind of a weird thing. And I think that, like, for me, 180 is like where it starts to kind of reach an inflection point of despair, I guess you could say, you know. What I mean by that is, like, none of this weight loss or whatever would have mattered if it wasn't for my boss, essentially, who's basically telling me I need to be more, well, he's not telling me to be more productive. He's trying to, like, show me, hey, this is what you're doing wrong, and I want you to see that there's potential for you to keep moving forward. That combined with my leadership comprehension, I guess you could say, you know, because I had to take a leadership class, allowed me to see all this stuff. So the thing about being, you know, being overweight like that is that sure, you'll have some mental clarity, but it's not nearly at the level that you can be on to really get a bunch of shit done, like a lot of stuff done. So for me, I sort of created a lot of goals for myself that seem unattainable to the average person. And for me, it's like I could see a vision of what I want to do. So, like, for example, I want to create new songs with the saxophone. I want to do some mixing of existing songs. Now that's not that inaccessible, right? But there's also a lot of other things that I want to do on an engineering basis. And so, but then you have regular work, and then you have some other things going on. And see, I'm no longer using that as an excuse, because, like, for example, I have the advantage of not having children, right? So I have a lot of time on my hands, and so therefore it would seem kind of natural to say, hey, well, how do I use this time effectively to achieve these goals that I normally wouldn't be able to achieve? And so the more, and then the everyday stuff, I realize, like, the more time goes on, the more I realize that, amazing snow here. The more time goes on, the more I realize that I'm not as resilient as I thought I was. I react pretty bad, and there's just, like, natural things that happen in life where, you know, it's it just, you know, the natural things that happen in life where you think that you have it, it's simple and stuff, but it's not that easy to get through it. Like, you know, my girlfriend and I have been together for a while, and I noticed that I've been pretty mean to her, you know, and I just don't know how to handle certain situations the way I should be. And I'm not abusive, but at the same time, you know, things are not working out as great as I would like for them to be. Now, obviously, we could break up, right? And this video is not about that. But now this is just one example. But at the same time, I have to look at myself and realize that there's a lot of things I could change for myself, right? You got to really look at yourself. And so, for example, so for me, I understand there's a lot of responsibility. So I realize that I've been a little bit more reactive than I thought I had resilience for. And so I'm trying to be a lot well, I'm not trying to be a lot nicer per se, but I'm trying to be more considerate, more understanding, more human, you know, stuff like that. And see, this was what was also happening with me and the tenant. I was not being as the tenant that I had that actually owes me $7,000. Imagine the payoff it is to have resilience. I didn't have the resilience required for me to help them out. And now on another view, you could look at this as a sort of a legal issue. Like, well, it doesn't matter whether you're nice or not, or it doesn't matter whether you're this way or that way. But at the end of the day, you don't really have to be nice. It's really about being resilient and doing the right thing. So if I look at myself, I realize that I did a lot of wrong things. And, like, you could always try to reset, in a sense, what's the situation that's going on. Like, for example, like for me, breaking up with my girlfriend could be a solution. But, and the same thing with like quitting your job, right? That could also be a solution or something like that. You could have a complete reset of whatever you're trying to do. But that is actually kind of like, it's almost like it's very similar to like, for example, when you're like, let's say if you thought you impregnated a woman and you have to take the pill or something like that, or I don't know, something like, I wouldn't say no, even worse than that. Probably like actual abortion. It's like that, like abortion in a sense, and you're basically trying to say that, well, I have no other options here. But in reality, you're just not working with the existing things that you have, and you don't have the resilience to be able to push through the existing problems and just kind of take a deep breath and say, well, this is what we got to do, and be able to move forward from there. So this is kind of what's happening with me. And I realized that I need to have greater resilience in general, because anything could happen in the future, anything. And, I've talked to some people and they've said this to me before. They've said that things are going to happen in your life, and it's not just an exam like the PE exam, and you're going to have to be able to handle it. So this is where I've come to the conclusion that it's a lot about resilience, and I don't have the resilience that I thought I had. So all that being said, or I should say I didn't have it. Like, maybe I have it a little bit better now, but anyways, that being said, you want to be optimal. So whatever you can do to increase your resilience, that's what I would do. And that's what I'm doing right now. And fasting is actually strangely a simple way to do that, because you develop mental resilience. And so I'm trying to do like little things here and there, trying to figure things out. Like, you'd be surprised when you start realizing it. Like, even the stuff that you eat can cause that. Like, things that would cause leaky gut can cause that. If you have more like grass fed, like beef, you're probably going to be more resilient than you were if you weren't to have that. And so a lot of it is physiological, I would say. Part of it is psychological. So, for example, I could see a doctor, a therapist or something, and see where that can go. But I don't think that's going to really help too much. Going into this relationship, for example, I was already pretty mentally strong. But to even get stronger than that, it's requiring something that a lot of professionals wouldn't really be able to guide you on, in my opinion. A lot of medical professionals. And then, what else am I going to say? What else do I want to say? And it's not just that. It's also like when it comes to the increased responsibilities. So like at work, like even at work, I'm becoming a little bit faster at the normal stuff. And I'm also being able to, now that I'm a little bit more resilient, I'm able to tackle on more difficult projects. So, there's something called a spec. And so now I could look at it and know exactly what, kind of take it apart and see what's going on with it without having to really overcomplicate it too much. Whereas before, even though I thought I had all the structural engineering, knowledge, which I do to some extent when I did for a while, it just wasn't enough to be able to look at what I was doing and be able to judge it, because it's completely new. Well, not only is it completely new, but it's one of those things. It's a spec. It requires a pretty high level of thinking to be able to process it and be able to do the next be able to go along with that project. So, you know, it's just for all these things, like, you know, especially if you run a company too, that's going to require more mental resilience as well. So, you know, I want to make a corollary to this, which is the fact that also, when I look at my coworkers that don't have their PE and stuff like that, I could tell, like, I could tell they don't have the resilience that I'm, you know, seeking to have, and I guess what I have now. But, and it's kind of interesting to see that, because I didn't see it at first. I thought maybe, well, they're just really good at what they're doing. But then because now that I've worked with them for 2 years now, almost, coming up in May, I see that they just don't have as much resilience, emotional and mental resilience that I originally thought they had. And, you know, they're fat, you know, they're overweight. And I'm not saying that that's everything, but I'm sure that physiologically they're not as advanced, I would say. But they are, you know, you can't deny that they're pretty good at what they're doing. They're just, you know, old. They're, one of them claimed that they almost died. They're 50 something, you know, in their 50s, 58, 59. One of them claimed that they almost died from a medication, allergic reaction where his nose like swelled up. I'm not going to say who it is. Probably wouldn't know who it is anyway. Probably couldn't even guess. But that scared the shit out of me. Now, so there's that aspect, right? But then there's also the immunity aspect that I'm trying to get from all this fasting, and you know, nutritional awareness. And so from that, because I look at that and I see my dad too. I see that my dad was how do you call it? He had diabetes, and he reversed it. And I started realizing what that really is. It's like, well, insulin, it has to do with insulin resistance. And I realized that, well, everybody has insulin. I didn't know that. I didn't understand how insulin worked. You have an insulin response every time you eat. I didn't realize that. So when I figured that out, I was like, oh my God, okay, so, you know, this is everything. And so now I realized that, like, I was probably pre-diabetic, and that definitely causes mental fog. I can't deny that. When you know, it causes mental fog when you're diabetic. So, and you have that high insulin resistance. So now that I've started taking care of that, that's like good. And so I'll never probably have to go through that my entire life, hopefully. But anyways, thanks for watching. This is my hike. I'm actually at Basse Falls. I'm at the confusing part. But anyways, thanks for watching.